we're back. This is Elliot Serrano and Jose Melendez being joined by Avi today on CCW TV. Thank you for joining us as we come to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. We've had, every time Avi joins us, we have some very spirited discussion about topics in comics. We've had a couple reviews. We've had a nice rant about Mark Millar's Ultimate Avengers, as well as James Robinson's work on JLA. It's just been kind of one of those funny past couple weeks. When you were here last time, remember how we were talking about all those funny coincidences that seem to occur? The comic book covers that seem to have similar designs. It just seemed to happen at this weird time.
And then we actually talked about it in last Rants, which was taped 3 weeks ago, when we were talking about how Heroic Age and Brightest Day
everything just seems to happen.
It's like 2 Volcano movies, 2 animated ant movies, and it happens.
2 asteroid movies, you know. Well, what happened that related to these topics we've been talking about, especially when you talked about depictions of violence towards women, the same week that Ultimate Avengers 5 comes out.
And New Ultimates.
You had Girl Comics, #1, from the Women of Marvel line. Essentially an anthology book featuring female creators in the comics industry doing, Marvel comics. Stories featuring the Marvel heroes.
A lot of pillow fights, manicures, pedicures, that kind of thing.
Can I tell you something? And I know I'm going to catch shit for this, but that I could have gotten. That would have made more sense to me. Because, and don't get me wrong, I really, really wanted to like this book. I was looking forward to it. I saw it on the shelf in the shop. I didn't even bother flipping through it. I grabbed it. I came up here. I paid for it. I didn't even look at the cover price, which ended up being $4.99. I didn't even. That's how, I'll admit it, I was predisposed to like this book. I wanted to like this book more than anything, okay? But man, when I took it home and read it, this felt like whoever put this together at Marvel was really overcompensating. They were trying so hard. I mean, this book was essentially, we're comic girls, hear us roar, And if you're writing this, for the established female reader, get more female readers into the book, okay, fine. Mind you, some of the stories are kind of hit and miss as far as that goes. Because there's like an article here about Marie Severin and this other stuff. These women who've been involved in Marvel Comics over the years.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
Oh, yeah. If you wanted fanboys to read this, it wasn't going to happen. It just was not going to happen. Because if anything, this kind of showed... This was like kind of telling fanboys, you know what, you're bad for being a boy. There were 2 stories in here that I enjoyed.
The Nightcrawler one?
Because he's a guy.
Yeah.
I
kind of like the Valerie Durazio Punisher story, and actually 3. I didn't have 2. I thought the Doc Ock story was kind of funny, was kind of cute, and I just like, because I like because she's written a lot of superhero comics before, with Devin Grayson's X-Men story, the short story. So those I like. And this is really the way they should have been putting the book together. It's just, make this something that, yes, it's by women creators, but don't make it that it had just... I can only see girls reading this book. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the #1 fangirl of CCW, Variant Girl, was actually looking forward to this. She kind of has the same ideals that we have about women in the industry, and she bought it, and she was excited for it. She absolutely hated it.
And
I think that she is the core demographic.
Yeah, she is. I mean, she's a female comic book reader. she has a lot of the same problems that we have, but she can look past a lot of the sexism in books. She can appreciate comics for what they are. But this, I mean, she, it felt kind of like pandering.
It was pandering, and if that's what it felt like, and this book already had so much working against it too, right? First of all, it feels like it's not really a Marvel comic; it's an alternative fiction anthology comic,
like Strange Tales or Bizarro Comics.
Exactly, it's kind of like that, except it was And so when people look through it at the rec, they're like, am I buying like a Dark Horse comic here?
Right.
There's not. Why are the women writers and creators? Why can't they tell stories
in the style of Marvel Comics? You're talking
exactly.
About? Yeah.
I mean, did they go out of their way to make it look so different?
Yeah, that's a good question because I know.
I love the Amanda Connor comic.
Oh, the Amanda Connor
the cover.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun cover. That's what covers should be like. But then you get in the inside, and it feels like there's no
cohesiveness to it.
Exactly. Some of the stories, like you said, are just hit or miss, and they're very short. And
well, the only thing that really binds is that they're all female creators. Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's all female creators. But mind you, the X-Men mini Pixie Strikes Back with Catherine Immonen and it's also a female creative team. Gail Simone, Nicola Scott on Wonder Woman. That was a female, mostly female creative team. Those would be the examples I want to point towards if you want to put together a comic book that features female creators that you want to make universal so that you can get not only girls but everyone reading.
Well, this one almost like ghettoizes it to be like, girl comics, like, here's your comic book, you can work in this one. See, everything else is
that's the point. Right, exactly. That's the point that Jose was trying to make.
It's worse than pandering. I mean, because really it is like a ghettoization of female characters. I mean, and again, like you're talking about these different female writers and artists that are working in the standard issue, standard comic comics that are out there. I mean, I think every issue of Power Girl is a better example of what girl comics should be than this. This is
and on top of that, I mean, this is $5. So that's already working against it. On the rack, it's $5.
And I have to make this clarification here. Yeah, the stories are hit and miss, but we're not. I'm by no means trying to take shots at the creators themselves. Okay.
Yeah, girls can't write comic books. We're not talking about that.
No,
Colleen Coover does the intro, and I love Colleen Coover. I think she's great. And there's some good. Just like if any anthology you have, some of the stories you're gonna like, others you're not gonna care for. They are gonna be hit and miss.
But it's like they went out of their way to make it so different.
And that is true. And the problem is that enough. And like I've had the conversation with Jenny Frison, the female artist. She really cringes when you bring up, when I ask her, what's it like being a female creator in the industry? She cringes at that because she doesn't want to be thought of as a female creator.
What is like
it's
to be
just
a creator?
Be a creator.
Exactly. But this they kind of like went out of their way to say, well, these are all the female creators. Don't get me wrong. I think female creators should be recognized.
Sure, of course.
But you got to set them up
as creators, not as female.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
And you have to give them the best chance to succeed and feature what they do, because with this, $5, with a bunch of stories that have no the packaging, putting it together.
Yeah, it's $5. It's $5 first of all, and then second, we know who a lot of these people are because we're into indies. But for the typical Marvel fanboy or just Marvel fan in general who just follows the universe, they don't know who these people are. Why should they care?
I don't think there's necessarily a bad thing because you said why does it have to be so different? I don't think difference is necessarily a bad thing as long as it's really compelling and good. And I don't think this really is. So, I mean, or at least the majority of it isn't. So, I mean, Bizarro Comics is totally different, but a lot of it is awesome. I mean, a lot of it is really, well done. So I don't think it has to necessarily be in the same style that a traditional Marvel comic would be. But it does seem that there's really nothing that's cohesively holding it together outside of the fact that they're all done by females. And that does seem like a ghettoization of that.
I mean... Look, I'm looking at this. Let's look at the stories. The first is again the intro of the females of Marvel, done by Colleen Doran Gray. Then we have this
Cooper.
Colleen Cooper. Then you have this Nightcrawler story, which is, and then you get into the cutesy little, cartoony type.
Well, it's like an issue of Pop Gun, but for Marvel.
Right.
With Marvel characters.
See
what they should have.
what they should have
Oh,
done,
that kind of
what I
what
would have
Strange
told,
shows
what I would have done for these female.
But I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's just
Yeah.
what it reminds
But I
me
would
of.
have told these female creators, I said, okay, here's what we want to do. These are the characters we want you to give us your unique vision of these characters, but give them characters that are primarily that have been known for being written by men. Okay, I would have loved to have seen maybe it's going to come later in the series, a Wolverine story. You know,
But aren't all characters primarily written by men in comics?
Yeah, but I mean, what we're trying to do, if I'm understanding this correctly, is feature female creators. We're trying to give them a spotlight that they can make comics just like any other creators.
But maybe that's not what they wanted to do, because then they'll be like, okay, well, like, you know, again, I'm just saying, maybe what they're looking for is that, you know, a female voice is different than the male voice, so you won't see the same, like, it won't be a standard Marvel comic the way you would see, you know, like the Nicola Scott Wonder Woman. With who's the writer?
Well, Gail Simone
was a writer or whatever. But
well, yeah, they're going to work together for a couple issues before Gail
and
Simone
they worked
leaves.
on Secret Six.
And they worked on Secret Six, right?
You know, in Secret Six, those weren't all female characters.
I don't know. I guess this just seems a little offensive to me, because they would be like saying, you know, like Asian comics, or like, you know, I mean, it's like just putting it under such it's just such a weird classification to me. It just bothers me.
Well, to go back to what we were saying earlier on, it's you know, we've talked about Marvel being a boys' club many times. And
comics are a boys' club.
Well, they are.
Comics
but Marvel more so than Dark Horse and Image and DC.
Oh, wait,
actually, it's more like a sausage fest, because a boys' club means that nobody wants women to be involved in it.
That's my take at Marvel.
To me, comics are more like, you know, we'd be happy if women were involved in it more, but nobody wants to hang out in the comic books industry. It's not a place that appeals to a lot of women, unfortunately.
Lately, Marvel seems like the He-Man Woman Haters Club. I mean,
when the stuff gets portrayed in the comics in general, I mean, it kind of that's how they seem. That's how I take it. And you know, to release something like this, saying, "Hey, look, we're not all that bad. We gave girls their own comic.
Hey, we charge you $5.
We charge you $5 for it."
You know?
Well,
and then so when this doesn't sell, for many numerous reasons, one, for probably because it's $5, and two, for sticking it in that smallest of niche.
Yeah.
You know, when it fails, they're gonna be like, I guess guys don't want girl comics.
Yeah,
they don't want to read anything that female creators do.
So now, if this was going all,
and then, you know, why don't you do like we just said? Just have female creators on your comics and let the work speak for themselves.
Right.
Like Power Girl in Secret Six and Wonder Woman.
Right.
Just
exactly.
let them do the work that everyone else gets paid to do.
Exactly.
Well, you guys don't notice there's a little. Whenever you look at a comic book that's done by Gail Simone, there's a little thing on that says "a girl comics."
Yeah.
It says, "This has been done by a girl." You know, I mean, it's like there's a little feminine sign. It's ridiculous. I think that people. I think you guys are right. People are, and this is not made for men, right? Because I don't think
that was not made for men at all. That was made for girls
immediately.
Well,
Something like that.
No.
But you know what? I think it's kind of funny, because when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I remember wanting to buy the George Perez Wonder Woman comics and being like, "Can I buy this? Are people gonna laugh at me buying this Wonder Woman comic?"
I bought it because it was George Perez.
I was really masculine. I was very macho.
Really?
You know? No, I don't know. But I mean, I remember being like, you know, can I get this? I mean, it's very like, you know.
Like, why couldn't they have done maybe another like Strange Tales Volume 2? Which just happened to be all female creators.
Well, how about you just don't even bother with it? What's the point of it? I mean, you have women working in comics; they just work in comics.
But I think but the reason I said it is that I think that's wise, because that's what Marvel gets viewed upon is, you know, because some of the material in their books is that they don't seem very friendly to females, and this is their way to throw them a bone, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, like
that was a poor.
No, it wasn't. I knew what I was saying because that's what Marvel thinks.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, to me,
I disagree with you there.
To me, I guess the whole point. It would have made more sense if they were just doing. If it was girl comics and it was all about female superheroes, that I would be cool with.
You know, even then, but then you throw in the Punisher story
or the
and the Nightcrawler story.
I mean,
although
then you're gonna be then you know it'd be like, oh, women can only tell women's stories. You can't really do that. That's not really fair.
No, what I'm saying, so the girl comics isn't about the girl characters.
Exactly.
It's about the girl creators, and that's kind of obnoxious. At least call it women comics with an X. I mean, it's something. It just seems like, it just seems so. And I'm sure we're probably taking this way more seriously than every female who's involved in this is just like, fuck you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
So.
And I know, oh God, I'm going to go to the next convention and Colleen Cooper's going to give me such dirty looks.
Because you called her Colleen Duran?
What?
Colleen Dorn.
Colleen Doran and Colleen Hoover.
But no, yeah. But talking to Variant Girl about this in reading her review about it, and she had a big problem with it too. So I just think as comic fans in general,
it would be interesting to hear more about that. Like what I mean, I wonder. My sister would probably be like, "This is this terrible idea." I've got a lot of female friends who probably. I'm gonna run this past them and see what they think. They're probably gonna tell me that it's insulting.
On the surface, again, seemed like a great idea. I just think it's the execution of it.
I don't know if it seems like a great idea. I don't think it even seems like a great idea.
No, I think anything that kind of tries to give female creators a spotlight in an industry that pretty much...
where's my Mexican comics?
Yeah, where's my Armenian comics?
There are Mexican comics. They don't get read.
Actually, Mexican comics do get... They're pretty raunchy. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, Tijuana Bibles.
Yeah, and then really. And then on top of that, if you try to have a Spanish writer write a Spanish character like Blue Beetle, we've discussed this, and he writes the entire book in Spanish, that's going to piss people off.
Well, use the language that we're all reading in. I mean, that's not that
Come
crazy.
on, you're in America. Learn the language.
Let me ask you one thing.
Even.
Let me ask you one thing. Would you guys be cool? Remember how they did that Young Guns thing a while back? Or a couple of times I think they did it, right? If they did like a Young Guns female version.
Now it's The Right Stuff. But with WRIT.
Because artists aren't involved in it?
Right, because it's writers.
If it did all females,
the writers, the real backbone of the comic industry.
I'm telling you, if it was all females, I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe that would have been a nice way to feature them.
Would that wouldn't be offensive compared to like girl comics? I mean, I don't know.
No, because you're trying to feature them as again just creators, not female.
Exactly.
Creators.
Well, they would still be. I mean, if you're having be all female creators, it would still be.
Yeah, but that's a little more subtle.
I guess.
It's not the old. This is kind of like hitting you over the head with it.
Right.
And on top of that, if it's the old, well, now these are all girl comics. So if you're a boy, you probably don't want to read this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think there's also like the girl comics. I think they tried to go for more of like a tongue in cheek, wink thing to it. I just don't think they achieved it.
No.
Because they almost did it a little more over the top with the female angle to it. I guess I don't know. It just seems like a very weekly. Oh, who knows? Maybe 2 and 3 will be awesome though. There's 3 issues of this thing coming out.
No. Well, someone explain to me why Tony Stark's got a porn stash.
It's like a trucker porn stash. You know what I would love to see though, by the way, is I would love to see Amanda Conner doing a She-Hulk comic. That would be sweet. Maybe like an actual She-Hulk comic, not like a Red or what's her name? Red She-Hulk and the other She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I mean, Jennifer Walters She-Hulk would be cool.
Well, isn't this the 30th, 40th, 50th anniversary of She-Hulk? Is this year? It's one of those.
I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I remember She-Hulk. Oh, I think it's like 30th.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, 30th. That would make more sense.
Well, it's too bad because I really wanted to enjoy the series and I haven't. In the end, in the final analysis, a couple things, and I know we're going to be catching crap for this on the boards, is when comics come to portraying violence, it seems like the only shock there is against women now. Okay, that's where the shocks are. Jose brings up the point about would Joe Quesada make certain editorial decisions if certain things happened in his own personal life. Here's my question I'm going to pose to the viewers. If someone in your family had been raped, okay?
Let's use sexual assault because rape is pretty...
Sexual assaulted sexually, okay. Would you appreciate that being portrayed in a comic book? Would you be able to accept that as just a shock, okay? A lot of the fanboys who read these comics lead very insular lives, and the reasons they find this type of shock and entertainment is because they've never had any exposure to this in their personal lives. So my question is, would you still find this sort of thing entertaining if in your own life you'd been touched by it?
Well, and the thing to me, I don't think that the shock situation is only for violence against females. Obviously, we talked about that Roy Harper having his bloody stump. I mean, that's not violence towards women. Just excessive violence, just for the sake of excessive violence, I think we all have an issue with. And I don't want to say like we're going to take away all of these dramatic tools from the writers. I mean, you shouldn't be able to say, "Hey, you know what? No one carries a gun anymore. Nobody smokes a cigarette anymore."
But it all comes down to.
But use it judiciously.
Well, that's what we say over and over again. We beat people over the head with whenever they say you guys don't want
so violent.
Yeah, it is violent.
No, exactly.
That is just such a man.
But it's all about context. That's what the number one thing is, and just to have violence for sake of violence towards anybody is just kind of.
If it's just done for shock value, as already Mark Miller has admitted, he did it for the shock value, then there is very little artistic merit to it.
And again, comic books are a violent medium. Jack Kirby would draw people pounding on each other all day long.
Superhero comics,
different.
Mainstream comics are a violent medium.
Right.
There are a lot of other comics out there that they don't even go near this. And
Well,
they don't need to go
I don't
near
think
this.
there's any violence in Owly.
True. When I say comics, I
Did you read
mean
the last one?
mainstream superhero
Ollie
comics. You're
went
right.
medieval
Yeah.
on this pigeon. I'm telling you.
But I mean, to be fair, look around you in the store. It's like 98.99% superhero comics. So when I say comic books, just let me say comic books, because I mean, there's like 2 Archie comics there, and there's like maybe an Owly or a
I see a
whatever.
bunch of Sonic over there.
Sonic is a violent damn comic.
The way he runs into
Yeah,
people for
man.
their little coins
That's right.
to steal their
Do I have to
coins.
walk off this again?
Every episode I'm on, I want you to walk off of it.
And then here, and the last point, and I'm not that and this is something I wanted to bring up, but I'm not gonna have time for. It's obvious that there is a context here, especially in where we find it, because you don't see the same sort of discussion taking place in regards to manga. Because I'm telling you, I can't read Battle Royale anymore, and I can't read Gantz anymore. Those books are so friggin' violent and depressing.
So you're a baby.
Depressing. I just cannot read them anymore. I can't. I do not. To me, I find Battle Royale to be really gratuitous in its violence.
That's kind of the whole point of the book.
It's
right?
kind of the whole point.
I know,
it's
but that's what
it's a
I'm
message about.
Well, see, there we go. Back to context.
But you're celebrating it.
But it is.
You're
It is
still
about
celebrating
context.
it, yeah.
But I can't. That's why I can't read it
No,
anymore.
I'm in the same boat. I can't read that comic.
Yeah.
I also don't know how to read Japanese.
All right, folks.
No, Avi's big thing is that he can't
Go
stand to read the backwards.
The right to left.
Yeah.
Instead of left to right.
I have to read in a mirror? That sucks.
Yeah.
All right. This, of course, like the last time when Avi participated, this is by far not the end of the discussion. We put it out there to you guys. We put it out last time, and man, we got a lot of responses in regards to the topic of swiping. So we'll put this out again. Violence in comics. You guys know how we stand on this. I think we've made some pretty good arguments here. You guys tell us what you feel.
And I think any time from here on out Avi doesn't sit in, that we actually just have to superimpose his head in the corner, so it looks like he's on here. So people are like, oh my god, that guy's on there?
What? Why?
Because it just seems that whenever you're on here, people
really
are
like
clicking
you.
on there. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you even got a cartoon. Demar did a cartoon.
Oh,
for
really?
You. Check the blog.
Oh,
It
very
posted
cool.
in the Sunday Funnies this week.
Very cool.
Or
Yeah.
last week. When you see this video, it will have been at least a week ago.
The last one I saw was the thing with you guys, like in the 80s, I think, or something.
Yeah, it was our high school. Well, not our
Yeah.
high school picture, but it's a Roadhouse, which
Yeah.
I really like. Demar's got. I have a whole bunch of cartoons that that he sent me that I'll be posting. And check out the blog, because we do have the winners of the Chew contest. Chew contest was closed. We have a bunch of comics, signed comics from John Layman that we're going to be sending out. Actually, when we finish taping right now, Jose and I are going to draw names, so you guys will find out on the blog who won the Chew comics. So, again, we look forward to your comments, your feedback. Keep hitting us with those emails. We read each and every one, because as always, CCW TV is about the CCW Nation. So until next time, this is Elliot and Jose with Avi coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.